Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about what do you do when your plotter gets too thick? And what I mean by that is, what are you doing when you have pages that are already done in a planner or in a calendar and you need to add new pages in going forward? What are you doing for storage in terms of the used pages if there's something that you need to keep? So I'm just going to talk through what I've been doing with my Bible size plotter, my A5 plotter, and my Mini5, which is now my wallet. But also, I'm going to be making some changes to the papers and the little bit of the setup that I have in the Bible and the Mini5 as well. So let's get started and take a look at all this. So to start out, let's talk about the A5. I don't really have any changes inside of here today, but what I've been doing for storage of either blank refills that I'm going to need to use or pages that are done is I actually picked up from Gentleman Stationer two of these Laconic A5 ring-bound binders. Now this one here, for the most part, is blank paper, blank refills of the different Laconic style. And then I also ended up putting in here, out of my paper testing plotter and ink swatching plotter, the folders with the different pre-punched Usari, Tomoe 52, Iroful, and things like that, just because it was getting kind of thick with having these dividers, and then I'd rather have that just be the papers and the swatches. So I ended up putting those in here just so I can take them out, because I hadn't been using any of the blank sheets in there. So it made no sense to carry a bunch around with me. And then for pages that are done, I got a separate one. So these are like used calendar pages that I'm just putting in here through, because I have the month view at the beginning and then week view. So I want to keep these at least for the year if I need to reference it for things that happened at work. And then I also have like work notes and things like that in here that I don't necessarily need to keep in my regular plotter, but I want to at least have an archive of for probably at least a year, just in case. So that's A5. That's pretty straightforward. And these binders have been great for it, pretty inexpensive for what they are. And it's a nice way to have this organized on this shelf. Now, one thing I ran into with my Bible size plotter is, if you remember from when I got it, I started out by using a Filofax, and the Filofax, all of this lining inside of here is crusting out and going all over the place. But in terms of storing the pages out of my Bible size plotter, which is my normal carry around calendar, I didn't have another notebook. I didn't want to buy something crazy high end or anything like that. And while there are some Japanese options, I couldn't find anything local. But when I went to my recent Pen Club meeting, my friend Nick in Pen Club found that he had an extra one of these Knox filing binders that he picked up in Japan. And because it was an extra one, he gave me his extra, because he's going to Japan again soon where he can restock. So what I'm going to do is take all these used pages and kind of extra storage of blank paper and whatnot that I've been putting in this Filofax that's leaving little residue all over my desk and in my office, and switch over into using this filing binder. So let's get started with that. And alongside, while doing that, I have a couple of new paper options that Gentleman Stationer just got in that is part of what I'm going to be doing for both the Mini5 and the Bible. He now is stocking the Iroful paper in Bible size and Mini5, which is already punched. This is the dot grid on both of these. So you can see the dot grid pattern there. And that's just to add a little bit more paper variety into the system. And I'll show you why I need to use this here in a moment, because of the calendar inserts I'm using the Bible size. So let's get started here. I'm going to take off this kind of paper vinyl sleeve. If I can get it to pop off. So, because I don't need the cellophane type things. Okay, so what I'm mainly going to do is just take everything out of here, and then this can properly be retired later so that it stops leaving little residue all over my office. So what I'm going to do is this is where I've been storing my used calendar pages. So to start off, I also had in here some of the blank, plotter 2mm grid books, and this is where you can rip the pages out. I didn't necessarily need to leave it in the rings, and now that I have this new one, I'll probably just put these aside because I also have the 5mm grid as well, and then I'll have some extra Iroful that will end up in this. So let's get started by just putting my used calendar pages in first. And the inserts I'm currently using in my Bible size plotter are some custom Filofax inserts my wife ordered for this year that she ended up not liking the Filofax system. So I took that over when my Hobonichi weeks failed me, and that's led me to where I am now with the plotter. I'd already been a user of this Filofax personal size many years in the past, so it was kind of like coming home in a sense. So I've got that in there, and then these are just extra of the little project folders. And I have one set aside that I'm going to be putting in the plotter here in a moment, but I'm also just using this to keep those easy to access and not where they're not going to get bent up or folded or anything. And one thing to mention here, in terms of the Mini5, while I'm not going to be able to find an equivalent of this, you can put Mini5 paper into 3 of the rings on the Bible size. The bottom one doesn't quite add up, so if you put those in the front, it's going to have a little bit of a tag if there are any of those small sizes that you do need to keep for some reason. I don't have anything in my wallet size that is going to necessitate that, and it looks like I missed a couple rings here. Let's get that fixed real quick. When putting in multiple rings, that can happen. Okay, so then that's going to be able to sit on my bookshelf and have all of the used pages in there. And I just have my calendar so I can easily flip through and go back and reference if I need to look at something that happened earlier in the year. And it's actually the time where I need to take a few weeks out of this, so we'll do that as well. So let me get these extra refills set over to the side here. Okay, so let's get on to the actual plotter itself. So in the Bible size plotter, it's pretty bare bones with what I have in here and how I've been using it. Now, the calendar format that I have is a week across 2 pages here, and my old format that I prefer is a week down 1 page and then a blank page for scratch paper. So what I do to account for that is I've been putting a blank sheet of either grid or dot between the pages, so I have like a scratch sheet of paper to use for notes as I'm going along if I need to record something down, so that way I'm not taking up space. So to get started, let's take out what I don't need here calendar-wise. And part of why you want to do this is the plotter website says that they can hold about 80 sheets of paper. So if you're doing a larger or like a week type format and you're not really necessarily going to want to put the entire year in there per se. At least I don't want to do that, because then it's going to be hard to use the pages. They're going to be hard to flip around or flip over. So here I can just pop these into this storage, and let's see, where did I go to? We're into August there. So I'll leave August. Well, I guess I should take that extra sheet there because that's part of the scratch note page of the last. And I do keep the scratch notes as well because they go with that calendar, just so if, like I said, if I need to reference them for some reason, I have that option. So what I'm going to do is add in some of this Iroful paper into the Bible plotter, put the extra in this Knox binder, and then also use another one of these project folders to put some sheets of this in the back. So if I need to add in more divider sheets or need more scratch paper, I have that here, because this is what I'm going to have with me in my bag, in my pocket when I'm out and about. And then I can always resupply the extra as needed when I get back home. So let's start by putting in the project folder. And you can see I already have one here that has some of the grid paper in it. So I'm just doing the same kind of principle with some of the Iroful. And this also shows just how these project folders work. You can put that in there. And I'm not grabbing a ton of sheets. This is maybe, 10 to 15 sheets, because we're getting into the year enough where I'm not going to have a ton of calendar pages that I have to account for. So I can put those in there. And then the other thing I'm going to do is, since I put these pages in, you can see my wife had a note in there from when she started using this and realized it wasn't the right solution for her. So, and I'm not going to go through and do all these. I'm just going to find where I left off before and just kind of show the process of what I'm doing, and then I'll do the rest off camera because no one wants to watch me individually turn pages and put sheets in. So all I'm doing is adding that in there. So now I have good scratch paper between, so that if this week in September I need to make a note here or draw something out, or I use it for work notes. But now that I've introduced the A5, I'm using the scratch paper here more as remember to copy this into the A5, or, having something in the A5 that I want to remember to put back in here, since I carry this around and my A5 is more of a desk bound plotter currently. So for the Iroful in here, I'm going to put this in the front because that's the thing I'm going to be going for the most to restock in the Bible size. So now this is ready for the storage to go on the shelf. Now, Plotter does have a storage system, but they seem to only sell them when they're selling their new inserts for the year, because I have not been able to find one anywhere online. And talking to Nick, who gave me this, it seems like this is a lot less expensive than the Plotter option. Now, granted, he was able to pick it up in Japan, so when you factor in importing and shipping and possible tariffs and all that, who knows what the situation would be now. But I like this because, these are meant to be written on, so you'd know, okay, this is from this book or this date. I'm not going to do that because I'm just using it for calendar pages, so I only have one. So there's not a need for me to notate on there of when it was or what it was, because I don't see keeping these pages for more than a year. So that's going to cover, for now, the Bible-sized plotter and what I'm going to be doing for the storage pages there. So let's move on to the Mini5, which is going great as a wallet. I've really enjoyed using this. The pen that kind of won the selection process so far that I've used the most is this Antique brass version. Now, I'm still having to fight. This pen holder is very tight, so I've been trying to get it stretched out, and I've even bent. I'll hold this over here. You can see I've bent that clip up slightly so that it does not grab as much on here. Now, that being said, I'm not using this pen all that much, but the few times I have tried to take it out, I'm having to take it out and use force to actually pull it. And I don't necessarily want to do that. I want it to be quick access. And you can see it slides back in there great. When you have the book open, it's great. But when it's closed down and compacted, it grabs. So having to take the band off is not ideal, but for a infrequently used pen, it's not a problem. So what I'm going to do in here, and you can see I just have some of the to-do pages currently that I have like a shopping list from when I last time I went to the general stationer. I've got a grocery shopping list. I'm just going to add a few sheets of this in here alongside the grid and the to-do list pages, just to have another option. I like to have paper variety, and I didn't get any dot grid when I was ordering paper for the Mini5. I just got the graph. So I wanted to get a few sheets of that. So we'll get this added in. And then we should be good with that. And let me get this all in here and clipped up, and then I'll show the next little thing I had. Okay, so just had to make sure my little screen that I have to watch my recording stopped going, and I wanted to be sure that I was getting all this filmed. So I just wanted to add in what I'm going to do for storing these extra Mini5 pages is, like I showed earlier, since I can put this mostly in the rings here, I'm just going to put these in the front. I would like ideally to find a little bit of a better solution for storing these, but and actually now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't tried this to see if there's a different spacing orientation along the rings that might be better. No, that doesn't line up. So it looks like with a stack this big, it's actually not going to fit in there. So I'm going to have to search around for an option for storing these extra pages. Luckily, they're small enough. I might be able to just put them in a little storage container in my desk drawer or something like that. Because I don't see having to restock this often, but I do want those to not get bent or anything like that. So that's something I'll have to search around and find an option for later. So all that being said, I'm really loving the Mini5 as a wallet. Now, I know it's not for everybody. Brad, the pen addict, gave his a go at the DC Pen Show and came home and realized it was not the solution for him. So, don't go out and get one thinking it's going to work for you. If you have a chance to talk to people who've used it, I was lucky enough to have someone local who'd been using one for a couple of years and kind of got the spiel on what's good, what's not good, how they're using it, how they like it. And for me, it is working out really well. So that's great. And then the Bible size, this format just seems to be the right one for me for carrying around. Luckily, having larger pockets, I can put this in a pocket, even a front pocket in most of my shorts or jeans or whatnot, and carry it around. So that way it doesn't get crazy bent in the back pocket, especially with the metal bar going down the back. If you're not familiar with the plotter, if you're new to the system, that would not be very comfortable. But you can see this is already starting to wear in and patina really well. It's getting a good kind of luster quality along the spine just from being carried in a bag, in a pocket, being used. And even for the short amount of time that I've had the Mini5, it's already starting to develop a nice patina just from pocket carry as well, which I love that about leather. So, don't be afraid to let your, to carry your plotters out. Their leather is very resilient, and for most people, I think they would agree, it looks better with age. Now, Plotter does sell some little pouches you can put these in if you have some of the softer leathers or if you're more particular about marks on it. So, personal preference, do whatever works for you. But for me, carrying these around and letting them kind of develop their own personality over time is really the right answer. So with all that being said, I have a question. Are you using any of these systems? What do you use for storage? That's the interesting part that you don't see talked about all that often when it comes to ring-bound and plotter. So what are you using for storage? Are you using it just a generic A5 notebook or for the Bible size, something like this, or an old Filofax? Leave me a comment and let me know what you're using for your storage of pages if you're storing them. Now, some people, as soon as the page is done, they're just going to throw it away because they have no need to keep it around. So I know that'll be dependent on your situation, but if you are storing pages, let me know what you're using, because if there's something else, like I say in a lot of these videos, I like to learn what other people are doing because that might give me new options to incorporate into my use case as well. So be sure and leave a comment. And if you're new to the channel, go in and click on subscribe and leave a like on this video if you found this information helpful. It really does help out the channel and lets me continue to put out new videos. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.